2025 Richmond Marathon. This one is usually a crowd favorite out here. This is a really popular marathon. So if you're doing this one, just I want to wish you the best of luck out here. Let's dive into how you can attack this. A couple of housekeeping things before we talk about that. The aid on course out here, there's going to be water stations approximately every 2 miles until mile 20, and then every mile thereafter. At every water stop on the course, they're claiming they're going to have noon endurance. They're also going to have goo energy gels with vanilla or strawberry flavor at miles 14 and 21. They list a junk food stop at miles 16 and 22. I imagine that's just sweets and things like that. Pickle juice at mile 23, and then the Porta Johns, they're going to be at the start and the finish, and then also adjacent to every water stop out there. Um, yeah, you can also look at the map out there. They definitely do a great job of labeling it. This is our course laid out for us. The goo stations are right before it. These are these brown food things. And this is that pickle station, the pickle juice station out here as well, at mile 23. So you do start off with a slight decline out here, but then everything kind of kicks up a little bit, and that lasts for a long time out here. So in relation to where that is on the map out here, we're talking 2, 5, and then all the way up to about mile 7-ish, right before it. It's a steady uphill drag. That is, good and bad. What that usually means, start of the marathon, 7 miles, all the way uphill. A lot of athletes are going to push this. They're going to want to eke out as much time as possible through here. They're going to really hit this hard. I would only advise that for really strong runners or runners who have actually prepped for that. Your running stride's likely going to be a little bit shorter, right? You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people, so that's going to be compounded again. You're likely going to be engaging the glutes, the hips, all that fun stuff. Going to be easier to engage the posterior chain, yada yada yada. But the thing that is not great is at being uphill is at the start. That's where a lot of people really want to push the pace. So just be very careful on race day. Kicking off past mile 7 out here, we are going to be greeted by a great little section out here. This is a kind of a net downhill. We do have one kind of problem out there, which is a little bit of a hill. But other than that, this section is kind of an area where a lot of athletes are going to view this as a let's get my time back section out here. I would advise not against that, but just, you might want to rethink that approach. You definitely should be going at a good little clip here, but you shouldn't be putting all of your eggs in one basket, getting all of the time that you lost here back in the very next section here. For sure, you're going to get some, but don't let it be all of it right there. Because immediately afterwards, you are going to kick up. You have one hill, two hill, and then you do have a net downhill for a good chunk of time. And that's going to last until about 17.4 right here when you cross that river again. Crossing the bridge out here, you are going to be greeted by a great little hill out here, kind of at the worst possible time of the marathon. So this is why when we're talking about all of this terrain right through here, the reason we're kind of harping on it is because of that hill that happens right here. And it does happen, like we said, the worst possible time out here, 17, 18 miles into the 17.9, 18 miles into the race. So you need to be mentally preparing and physically preparing for that. Up until this point, you've had about, what is that, 8 aid stations out on course. You've also had your first goo station that you've passed if you're not running with any nutrition yourself. I wouldn't advise skipping that. So you are going to be greeted with an aid station on this hill. Make sure that you kind of walk through it or just take that as an opportunity to eat up some of the elevation on this course. Um, Speaking of elevation, we only have about 710-ish feet of elevation gain. If we're talking in the last, let's call it 2 miles here, right here. So these 2 miles, we do have 190 feet of elevation gain with a max grade of 6%. So again, we are going to be hitting this a little bit aggressively here. If you're feeling great at all, what you can do, and we're going to try to actually have it zoom in this time, here we go, is you're just going to get up this little section out here as you cross the river. And then once you get up here, it is definitely runnable out here. It cools off very quickly out here, and 2% is definitely doable for the vast majority of people out here. For most people, that what is that, 4.5, 6% out here is not you're going to have to walk run up that for sure, but having an aid station there to kind of eat it up a little bit is going to be very, very helpful out here. Now, once you get to this 20-mile mark, you are going to be greeted with aid every single mile, as they claim, right? So that is a good thing to have. So set yourself up for success here. What you would like to do is you would like to get to this point in the race and not need aid every single one of those miles, right? But I would encourage you to get something at every single station, regardless of how you're feeling at this point in the race. You just never know. 6 miles can be really, really quick, or it can be very, very long out here. So that's the kind of quick and dirty breakdown of the Richmond Marathon course out here. If you wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about dynamics and running and things like that, please make sure you reach out down below. Just a quick and dirty kind of breakdown really fast. We do have this net down. This is going to be where a lot of people kind of overdo it and set themselves up for cramps in this area right through here. This is another really, really essential area to race day success. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge from mile 12 up until about mile 17.8. And then afterwards, we do have, if we can zoom in again out here, we do have this section right here, 5.7 section at the end of our race. Elevation gain 52 feet out here, max grade 0.6. So, it's not crazy. We do have an average grading of 0.2 negative, right? So a little bit of a false flat leading to the finish line there. So like we said, if anyone has any questions, comments, things like that, please feel free to reach out. Contact info is down below. If you want to do a little consultation and talk through your race day strategy for you, again, contact info is down there. We've had a number of athletes reach out to us this year and have had great race day success out there. So best of luck to everyone, and looking forward to seeing you out there on race day.